Good morning. Um, First up, I think that my internet has a bit of an outage issue, so it's a little bit flaky. Do soldier on if you can, and still comment, but I am recording a backup so I can upload it later if you want. Um, so there's some funny shit's happening. It's funny because I'm seeing everybody who's not sort of balls deep in this sort of culture wars stuff, just going, what the fuck is happening to the world at the moment, right? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you are. It's touching you, right? And it's just really funny to see. I get this. I'm not the only person who's been receiving messages and emails and fucking background conversations and, you know, all that sort of stuff where they're going, what the fuck is happening? What the hell? And I said, maybe watch my videos for the last fucking 2 years. You might get somewhere. So anyway, please soldier on if there's connection lag or whatever. Yeah, but I will upload a smoother version. So if you want to make any comments, let's just pretend I'm just going to continue on as usual and hope that this fucking is watchable. Worst case scenario, I'll upload a new one. Good morning to Martha Arthur. I know who that is. And Bloody Skies. Good morning. So some funny shit's going down. But first off, before I get into fucking the cancellation of Noam Chomsky, which I find hilarious because, like, what the fuck, right? But I thought I wanted to see this thing from this morning. Okay, hang on, I forgot to bring it up. I was like, imagine. I posted this just on Facebook just now, but imagine you were like in a coma for 10 years, and you woke up. So where the fuck is it? Here we go. Hang on, let me share. And it was basically like, look, imagine being in a coma for 10 years and waking up to this. Kanye West says he no longer supports President Trump. Okay. It's like, well, first up, Trump is president. Okay. Kanye supported President Trump, but now he no longer, like, you just walk through the process, no longer supports President Trump now. Well, he's revoked his support. For some reason, that is a headline. And then it's Kanye revealed in an interview with Forbes that he will run for the position of President of the United States under his own party, the Birthday Party, and he no longer supports President Trump. The Chicago rapper said he will receive guidance from Elon Musk and his wife, Kim Kardashian West, which is funny because Kim Kardashian wasn't even married to Kanye at that point. So could you I'm just trying to put yourself in that situation where you've fucking been asleep for 10 years, like 10 years ago. It's just the perfect, there's not even a pandemic in this one. It's just amazing. How good is 2020? Anyway, so it's just crazy. Woke up to that this morning. And I think we're at the point where, like, literally nothing surprises us anymore. Like, when you think about the Kanye thing, right? But even down to sort of this, I'll get to the cancel culture letter, which is the main focus of the conversation. But if you think about how you know, like, the idea of gaslighting, right? But there's the manipulative gaslighting, but there's also sort of the day-to-day normalization and grooming of society to accept crazy shit. And, like, if you actually, you sit back and you go, okay, let's rewind a decade. So all of these things that need to occur, for fuck's sake, the fucking internet, all the things that need to occur, which is that, first of all, Kim Kardashian marries Kanye West. Okay? But whatever, cool. You know, Trump runs for president. There's a pandemic. You know, all of these things that build and build and build to where you're so desensitized to the craziness. Like 2020. I don't know if we can go. I said this morning. I don't know if we can actually even go back to how it was before. Like this, we're all now addicted to the craziness. We are so addicted to the craziness, right? And the daily witch burnings and the daily fucking cancels and the constant drama and the new fucking crazy news. It's more about how the hell do you even contemplate going back to normal after like a year that we've had, right? And even a decade. Like, just that tickled me today. I love the idea that it's called the birthday party. I think that's fantastic. I imagine that it symbolizes sort of founding principles. It's fucking amazing. Just sitting back and just laughing at the world, man. Okay, that's all you can do is just go, fuck me. I have a sort of Carlin-esque perspective on all this, which is that I like to just sit back and detach myself and observe it and laugh at it and just think about how crazy this world is. But it's not you. Like, if you're sitting there thinking that you've lost your mind, it's not you. Like, I know this stuff in and out, right? I've been predicting a lot of this stuff for a long time. I thought that this would happen. And even I'm a little bit fucking, stress balls. Oh, internet. I think that the internet's fucked. I think that we're going to have to call this a day very soon. I'm going to soldier through anyway. But I got my stress balls. So, like, it is funny, just this idea that, this is at all normal. It's not normal. And it's okay. It's funny. So anyway, let me know if this is unbearable to watch. I might actually just log on again later and try again. There is a outage. My internet has been fucking up and down all morning. So it's unusual for Aussie broadband to be like having problems, but hopefully they rectify it soon. But yeah, I got fucking kick-ass internet. So even my shitty internet, I've got basically everyone else's internet right now. Okay, you don't have any issues. Okay, good. It's just looking like it is for me. All right, that's good to know. All right, well, I'll just soldier on then. So anyway, I just think it's really funny that just in the space of a decade, right? The space of a decade. Let's not go back 20 years because, since the internet was 30 years since the internet sort of was invented, right? Think about how crazy this is all, how on fast forward all of this is. It's insane and awesome. Like this fucking, like the fact that any headline that says something about President Trump, and I always just go, what if someone in a coma of 10 years just they go, hang on a minute, like everyone's just normalized this, like it's a normal thing. It's just crazy. Anyway, so in the vein of all of this crazy fucking shit, it is now illegal to say ordinary things. Ordinary, benign things without someone accusing you of hate speech. And so let's go there, shall we? Now, I actually tried to, so let's walk through how, I'm going to walk you through how I experience these things, okay? Like I go in every morning, I grab my coffee, and my first thing is, who the fuck, all right, who's the witch today? It's like, who's the witch today? And then it's just always funny. It's awful. The thing is, as I've said before, this is not a ha-ha funny situation. It is a fucked up funny situation. Like, if this cult sort of progresses, into full Jonestown territory, which is highly likely that it will, right? I think we're all pretty much there waiting for this to happen. But like they're just going to escalate and escalate and escalate and escalate until it reaches a critical mass, and it's getting there. People are seeing it now, right? But what I don't want to happen is for them to go away. I just don't want them to have power, because the thing about this crew, right, of fucking morons, is that they're funny. They provide endless entertainment. They are so unbelievably stupid. It is just astonishing that these guys have like paid work, let alone a fucking considered to be in the public interest, like the blue check journos and stuff, right? The fact that they are the considered authoritative sources is it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. Because it's just so boneheaded. But I don't want them to go away. I'm going to miss them when they inevitably turn into the death cult that they are. Like how, like with Scientology, like they don't have power, so they just sit there. They do awful shit, right? But for the most part, I think most reasonable, rational people know that Scientology is a cult. Most reasonable, rational people, it's sort of run its course. It's mostly those that are in it now that are trapped there. I don't know if there's many other people that would go, oh yeah, I'm going to walk into the Church of Scientology. Like, I don't see how that's going to happen. Actually, I'd be curious to know what the sign-up rates for Scientology are at the moment, because wokeism obviously is very similar to that, but it doesn't have the same stigma. It will. Eventually it will, right? I think it's getting to that point where most people are like, you're in a fucking cult, mate. But for the most part, I'd just be curious to know whether Scientology is losing ground at the expense of Robin DiAngelo, Dianetics sales down, White Fragility sales, and Judith Butler sales up. Who knows? Anyway. I've been calling it pulp non-fiction, all this stuff. It's not really fucking, it's got no scientific validity to it whatsoever, and barely even philosophical validity, unless you really are just, fuck me. Anyway, she's like a Dr. Oz. Yes, technically is a real doctor, but, anyway. So, what was I going to say? That always happens. What was I going to say? Taya goes, brain fart. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So they tried to cancel Chomsky. Let me go back. So my day, I go on and I see Noam Chomsky trending. And I'm like, that's awesome. I love Noam Chomsky. Me and his politics, right? Our politics are the same. He would... I'm largely libertarian Marxist, so he's largely libertarian socialist. He fights with the Marxists as well, but is largely in favour of workers organising and all that sort of stuff. I share a lot of my politics with Noam Chomsky, and a lot of my worldview is informed by a lot of his work, I dug a little bit into the history because I'd forgotten some of it. And one thing that you need to know about Chomsky is that him and Foucault had quite a decent sized rivalry, right? So Chomsky doesn't like postmodernism. He's highly critical of postmodernism as a concept. He is very much into the material reality of things, right? And I sat there and I went, why the fuck would these people cancel Chomsky? He wrote these things, right? And I know that, again, I know why. It's just by association. It's just dumb. But I actually thought, okay, let's assume that they've got a good reason. And I just find it fucking twisted and funny that even Noam Chomsky is not extreme enough for these people. And he's pretty fucking far left, right? It's just amazing. The thing that cracks me up the most is these fucking people who have this idea that they know more than arguably one of the greatest living scholars of the 20th and 21st century. And they're like, oh yeah, let's take him on. And there was a funny joke on Twitter actually. Someone should email Noam and tell him that he's being cancelled on Twitter. It's like, fucking hell. Anyway, so where did this come from? All right. These never go anywhere, like I just talk shit. So let's go, hang on, where are we? So what happened was this terrible, terrible idea. So Harper's Magazine published this, okay? A letter on justice and open debate. All right? It's an open letter, co-signed by, I think, 200 people. And I'll get to who they were. Our cultural institutions are facing a moment of trial. I'm going to read it out. Powerful protests for racial and social justice are leading to overdue demands for police reform, along with wider calls for greater equality and inclusion across our society, not least in higher education. Oops, stay in camera, Taya. Not least in higher education. Where'd I go? Journalism, philanthropy, and the arts. But this needed reckoning has also intensified a new set of moral attitudes and political commitments that tend to weaken our norms of open debate and toleration of differences in favour of ideological conformity. As we applaud the first development, we also raise our voices against the second. The forces of illiberalism are gaining strength throughout the world and have a powerful ally in Donald Trump, who represents a real threat to democracy. But resistance must not be allowed to harden into its own brand of dogma or coercion, which right-wing demagogues are already exploiting. The democratic inclusion we want can be achieved only if we speak out against the intolerant climate that has set in on all sides. Now, I wrote a similar article, which was, when will the left wake up to the threat of totalitarianism? You can look at it on my website. It's pretty much the same fucking thing, except I'm not co-signed by Noam Chomsky, so no one listens to me. But anyway, I did it before it was fucking cool. Anyway, so the free exchange of information and ideas, the lifeblood of a liberal society, is daily becoming more constricted. While we have come to expect this on the radical right, censoriousness is also spreading more widely in our culture, an intolerance of opposing views, a vogue for public shaming and ostracism, and the tendency to dissolve complex policy issues in a blinding moral certainty. We uphold the value of robust and even caustic counter-speech from all quarters. But it is now all too common to hear calls for swift and severe retribution in response to perceived transgressions of speech and thought. More troubling still, institutional leaders, in a spirit of panic damage control, are delivering hasty and disproportionate punishments instead of considered reforms. Editors are fired for running controversial pieces, books are withdrawn for alleged inauthenticity, journalists are barred from writing on certain topics, professors are investigated for quoting works of literature in class, a researcher is fired for circulating a peer-reviewed academic study, and the heads of organisations are ousted for what are sometimes just clumsy mistakes. Whatever the arguments around each particular incident, the result has been to steadily narrow the boundaries of what can be said without the threat of reprisal. We are already paying the price in greater risk aversion among writers, artists, and journalists, who fear for their livelihoods if they depart from the consensus or even lack sufficient zeal in agreement. Right. This stifling atmosphere will ultimately harm the most vital causes of our time. The restriction of debate, whether by a repressive government or an intolerant society, invariably hurts those who lack power and makes everyone less capable of democratic participation. The way to defeat bad ideas is by exposure, argument, and persuasion, not by trying to silence or wish them away. We refuse any false choice between justice and freedom, which cannot exist without each other. As writers, we need a culture that leaves us room for experimentation, risk-taking, and even mistakes. We seek to preserve the possibility of good faith disagreement without dire professional consequences. If we don't defend the very thing on which our work depends, we shouldn't expect the public or the state to defend it for us. And it was co-signed by a number of people, including Margaret Atwood. There's lots of people here, lots of journalists, Noam Chomsky, J.K. Rowling, right? All sorts of people. Got Malcolm Gladwell. Okay. Jonathan Haidt, of course. Katie Herzog. A number of people who've actually been victims of this stuff, right? Barry Weiss from the New York Times. And a number of people. Kathy Young. A lot of the usual suspects. Jesse Singal. I bought, I fucking put I bought a mic stand, put 2 boom stands for my studio so that I wouldn't bump the table and so that it wouldn't shake and so that things wouldn't happen. And guess what just happened? I kicked the mic stand with my foot. So there you go. Anyway, so yes. Who would say such horrible things? Like this is where we're at. This is where we're at, which is people saying it's okay to disagree is hate speech, right? And guess what happened? Guess what happened? Anyone want to guess what happened? A lot of people are confused. This is funny, man. A lot of people are confused about the intent of the Harper's letter, so I made some helpful edits to clarify many of the signees' positions. Right? Check this shit out. These fucking people. These fucking people. My internet's too slow. I'm sorry about that. But look, they always have to put it in. It can't be not, again, I've said this, it can't, the thing you need to understand is this whole movement, it can't not be about the trans people for 2 fucking seconds. They are the center of the fucking universe, and why nobody sees that this is just a narcissistic personality disorder, right? It's insane. It is absolute narcissism and borderline personality fucking out on display 24/7. Nobody forget about me. Don't forget about us. Let's insert, about trans people, like what the fuck are these things? This fucking hell, these people, man. Look, how psychotic do you need to be? Right? Anyway, because J.K. Rowling signed it. But how is this not, like, how do you not look at this and see what's going on? Like, you can't even say, hey, maybe we should talk about something else for 2 seconds. Like, literal insertion all of the time. Like, if you look at the flag, it's literally fucking the rainbow. It is fucking, they insert themselves everywhere. And it's like, no, we weren't talking about you. Fucking narcissists. Anyway, I didn't mean that to come out like angry and stuff, but I'm just like, this is just such a big fucking pattern with this movement, right? Which is just, it's constantly, it's always top of the pile, bullies. Anyway, so guess what happened? Because J.K. Rowling signed it, everyone by association is a transphobe. And then a bunch of people, because it's a letter about cancel culture, retracted their fucking signatures. And then some of them even claimed that they signed on to something that was fabricated and that it was like all made up and that, it's like, do you not understand this thing? Okay, anyway. So, I'm clearly articulate today. I'm just paranoid about the internet not working. Anyway. So, where are we? This chick was the first one. I did not know who else had signed that letter. So they get to you, right? So you go through this and you read it and you go, this is... All they said was something like, it's okay, we need freedom. There's a threat here. Totalitarianism is a problem, like I've said before. This is a threat. This is a threat. You're playing with fire. And guess what happens? They do exactly the thing that they're writing about. So there's a number of people who were sitting there. Basically, they grabbed the list. Someone said, look, they gave us a list. And then there's a whole handful of people, right? And these aren't like small counts. These are accounts. There's blue checks and people with like fairly large followings saying, digging up dirt on every single one, going through all of their old tweets and just bringing up all of their old dirt. Then the exodus happened. So this chick, I did not know who else had signed that letter. I thought I was endorsing a well-meaning, if vague, message against internet shaming. I did know Chomsky, Steinem and Atwood were in it, and I thought, good company. The consequences are mine to bear. I'm sorry. because J.K. Rowling, known Hitler supporter, signed a fucking open letter on free speech. These people are off their fucking tree. This letter, but look at this. I mean, the way Twitter editorializes this trending stuff now. So an open letter calling for an end to cancel culture, signed by J.K. Rowling, Margaret Atwood, and many more, has stirred a debate. No shit. It hasn't stirred a debate. It's pissed off the exact same people that it was fucking targeting. Oh my God. It's hilarious. But the way Twitter contextualizes it, some figures have drawn their support of the letter. I love how it's like, she's also put the thing so no one can reply. So like there's lots of retweets because everyone's quote tweeting the whole fucking thing. The letter is seen by some as supporting anti-trans rhetoric. It's only seen by people, you're like, what the fuck? No one was talking about you, you fuckwit, narcissist. Go away. You're a pest. You're an absolute pest. Okay. Maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about everybody else, the other 99.9% of the population for 2 fucking seconds. That's not an anti-trans thing. That's anybody who's a douchebag that dominates the conversation and talks about nothing but themselves all the time is an asshole. It's got nothing to do with their status, right? And then it's like, let's steer the conversation. Let's steer the conversation against and make it all about this one group of people who just cannot sit on their hands for 2 fucking seconds and let anything be about anybody else. If you don't see the link between narcissistic personality disorder and this fucking shit, fuck me. So, it has led to a debate about whether cancel culture exists. No, it hasn't. It's shown it. It's basically fucking performance art. It is so funny, right? So then I wake up, right? Oh. So basically, all this stuff. Where are we? It's just, anyway, same stuff. But Twitter's tried to, I'm not up to date. That's because there's a lot there. Anyway, wandered off. But, so then they decided that they were going to cancel Noam Chomsky because he signed the list. And that became funny. So this one was funny, right? Where are we? I really should have been more prepared. Anyway, whatever. But what's funny about this, right? The reason why they tried to cancel Noam Chomsky was because he signed a letter about cancel culture, which Noam Chomsky actually quite famously has defended people that he disagreed with. And then what they do is, by saying that the right, very famously, Holocaust deniers, right? He said they should be able to speak. And of course now he's a fucking Nazi apologist, anti-Semite. Fucking morons. No, he believes in free speech. Right. Actually, seeing Gad Sad go after Chomsky this week was a bit disappointing. He hasn't been very nice and charitable. Anyway, but yeah. So famously, he's always been about free speech. He's always been on the right side in most cases, or when he's been wrong, he's been misunderstood. Right. That's probably been most of it, which is that he's just a fucking libertarian. He's a left libertarian, and he has fought authoritarians on the left for all of his career. It's nothing that's not consistent. And so basically they were trying to... but what I found funny about this whole thing, right? Sorry, I had a kid walk in. It's distracting. She pulled my attention away. What was I going to say? Sorry, I'm just distracted. Lost my train of thought. Give me a sec. So Chomsky. Can you do that in a few minutes, Jules, please? Thank you. It's distracting. Sorry. Can you come back in like 15 minutes? Sorry. Okay. I have to edit this now. I'm on a stream, man. Okay, so anyway, so I've completely forgotten what I was going to fucking say. Where are you? Chomsky. Oh yeah. So Chomsky, what made me laugh about that? It's why it's funny. It's just so funny because he literally wrote the book on this shit. Okay, in the 80s. If you haven't read Manufacturing Consent, right, which he did with Edward Herman, it basically talks about this corporatism and the propaganda model, which is precisely what we're seeing unfold right now. Cancel culture is a symptom of this fucking corporatist. Like it absolutely fits the criteria. I would actually argue. Actually, let's go through that. Let's do something useful. Sorry about that. School holidays. You know how it is. So, propaganda model, manufacturing consent. Okay, so there are five filters that So basically, okay, so manufacturing consent. So when people talk about journalism, right? When they talk about journalism, in the traditional sense, the reason why Chomsky was famous was that he challenged the idea that journalism could ever be fighting for the people, right? So in terms, I'm trying to explain this in normie language. So in contrast to sort of liberal ideas, which is that you've got, you know, the separation of powers of government, you've got the executive, judiciary, and the legislature, and then you've got the media who hold those institutions to account, right? So what Chomsky did was he basically challenged that idea that the media held power to account, because what Chomsky said was that by the very nature, right, of the way that they're funded, the way that they operate, and the model that they use, right, he called them filters, right, they are propaganda, right? They serve the powerful. The media serves the powerful. That's what we're seeing right now. All these woke journos, they are serving the tech companies, and they are serving technocrats, and they are serving the fucking, you know, corporate brands, right? It's obvious. If you've read this book, you see what this is. This is why I predicted it as earlier than I did, than others saw it, because I see things through the propaganda model, and you go, this is the same old shit. Okay, so. Hopefully that came out fairly clear, but so it's quite kind of complicated, especially when you've got teenagers fucking wrestling cheese packets in the background and being a fucking fuck. Anyway, so basically, you know, the fact that NBC is owned by General Electric, you know, all of these sorts of things, right? The way that they own tech companies, you can't have an independent press because they are owned by corporations with an interest, right? So that's basically the propaganda model in a very inarticulate TLDR with a brain fart, fucking stress ball. Okay, so aren't you glad I got those out and started to do those? Okay, so filters. Okay. So the propaganda model is a model in political economy, okay? A model. Not prescriptive. It's descriptive, not prescriptive. Prescriptive, right? So it seeks to explain how populations are manipulated and how consent for economic, social, and political policies is manufactured in the public mind due to this propaganda, right? So if you're a citizen, and this really links to how people vote, right? Or how people, one thing that he is largely critical of, right, is the two-party system. He said that they're the same people. They serve the same people. They're two sides of the same coin, and that they're never going to actually see meaningful change because they are in the pockets of big business. They're in the pockets of corporate power. And this is something that Brett Weinstein has also addressed in his Unity 2020 proposal. I still haven't had a chance to read it, but I'm going to have a look at it. But the theory, basically this idea that they're both fucked. They're both corrupt. They're completely and utterly corrupt, right? They are all bought and paid for by big tech, big fucking oil. It used to be like big oil, but now increasingly it's big tech and sort of brand shit. Good job kicking the microphone, Santaya. That solution worked really well. But basically, so manufacturing consent is the idea that, you know, it's not meant to insult anybody or call them stupid. This is where I think people get politics wrong, or political analysis, which is that just because Marx says that you lack class consciousness, it doesn't necessarily mean you're stupid, okay? Wokes think you're stupid. Like, that's the difference, right? People in this cult use it as a weapon and as a tool to think that people are stupid. That if you don't see the world the way they do, that they think that only they have the sacred knowledge, right? This is the line between sort of scholarship and cult behavior and cult stuff, right? So, if you build the magical thinking side of things, right? You're not. My words are not working. I'm not working. My words aren't good today. You know what I meant? Fucking hell. The mystical thinking and sacred science and all that sort of stuff, right? There's a whole air of smugness to the woke movement that is not necessarily intended here. So I think one thing that they assume, like with bad faith with Chomsky, is that he thinks that that choice that is completely unconscious, right? And that we're all manipulated and stuff. It's like, no, these are just forces that work. And being aware, when you can name the thing, you can fight it. So that's just be a bit more charitable. But so basically, when someone votes, they read the newspaper, ideally, right? But they also take in ads, and they also take in lots of information, and that helps to persuade them. And that is obviously funded by corporations, and that has an imperative to it. So what manufacturing consent does for your your very TLDR person is that it just questions whether we are, again, whether we're actually free, whether we actually have free will, whether we have free thought, and whether we are actually being manipulated. Manufacturing consent questions that. So the filters. So he says that it operates through 5 filters. Sorry. 4? Fucking 5. Yeah. So streaming's harder than it looks. It's hard to fucking talk on a live stream and recall sort of complex thoughts with all this shit going on. Like, that kid threw me. I'm going to have to kick him in the bum. They're banned from like the area when I'm streaming because I like completely lose my trains of thought. Anyway, so ownership. So through ownership, just by nature of being owned by corporations, they have a profit. They have to make a profit, right? The fact that, is it Amazon owns the Washington Post, right? Or is it the Times? One of them, right? That's the conflict of interest. Okay. Do you think that they're going to serve people? You're going to think they're going to serve the interests of those of the people when it comes to critiquing Amazon? Do you think they're going to be critical of Amazon? It's probably not in their interest to do that, right? So not only are they owned by large corporations, so NBC being owned by GE is all of the media companies being owned by massive conglomerates of energy and food and manufacturing and like massive multinational corporations, right? Just by virtue of that concentration of corporate power, that instantly, right? They're not going to criticize their fucking parent company, right? They're going to have to sacrifice the objectivity for their jobs. If you want to keep your job, you got to fucking toe the party line. This is what we're seeing with this cancel culture stuff, and that's why it's related, right? Which is that if you want to keep your job, you have to toe the line. right? I've maintained pretty early on that this woke movement clearly has. It has to benefit the rich. It has to benefit the wealthy. It has to benefit the corporations. And my theory is that it's a really good way of looking, because there was a lot of heat in the 2000s on corporate social responsibility. This is a really good way for them to look like they're doing things without actually doing anything meaningful to change. That's my hypothesis. So that's why the sort of the wokeism shit, they've bought hook, line and sinker, because it's superficial. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothingness. And if anything, it is regressive, and it actually allows for racists, sexist, and patriarchy to thrive, right? Racism, sexism, and for patriarchy to fly. So, so it doesn't actually, do any meaningful change. So, so, just by being owned by a massive corporation, you're not impartial as a journalist, right? Regardless, look at what's happening with the New York Times, and look what happened during the riots, like just how distorted, like literally opposite narratives, right? And even so anyway, advertising again. So even if you're not owned by the corporations, right, you're definitely owned by the advertisers, and that's where Facebook are going through this at the moment, where honestly, I think the model's dying, and I think that Zuckerberg is looking for different ways. I hope that he's looking for different ways to monetize. I know that Google are, because the advertising model is dead. It's absolutely dead. It's unsustainable. But it's the funding generated through advertising. So if you piss off the advertisers, this is what happened with YouTube. If you piss off the advertisers, right, they'll ban you, right? That's why they push this advertiser-friendly stuff. It's why there's laws, like obscenity laws and all these things. It's all because advertisers run the show, right? But again, that compromises your journalism, right? Now you've got fucking entire publications that are nothing but advertising that pass themselves off as news, like BuzzFeed and fucking all that stuff. But, for the most part, just that erodes the freedom of the journalist to report facts and hold power to account, okay? Because if you are owned by the powerful, of course you're going to have a conflict of interest, right? So, sourcing of news. Where do you get your news from? This is what Trump's done, right? Kick out all of the journalists out of the press room. Access is what people need. Okay, if you're a journalist and you want to break a story, you need access. You need to build relationships. You need sources. You need to be able to interview people. Imagine if you're an entertainment journalist who is sort of anti-woke. I'm going through this right now, which is that I know a number of people that I would absolutely just love to interview and could easily interview on my show and my podcast, but they won't go on. They won't come on by association. Still, we're cool in private, but they won't touch it because it's just too much, too much of a chill around this stuff, and they don't want to get fucking targeted by this fucking bunch of fuckwits. And so, and rightly so. I'm not claiming I'm a victim. I'm saying it stifles you, right? So a lot of journalism, a lot of, podcasting, a lot of that sort of stuff, that relies on relationships, right? And access. If you want the inside story on something and you tell, I'm trying to think, okay, what about, here we go, reviews, tech reviews, right? You get sent, if you're a journalist, right? And again, target audience is normal people here. Target audience, right? Is they want honest tech reviews of a camera, right? I'm going through this at the moment. But if the company sends you the camera and gives you the present, you're already compromised, okay? That's just the nature of it, right? It is the nature of it that you're going to feel like because they gave you an expensive gift, right? And this is a lot of what happened with Gamergate, right? You think about this stuff, the impartiality. There was a lot of money exchanged because, in exchange for access and favours, right? That was really at the core of Gamergate. And so when you remove that, you end up not being able to do the stories that you want to do. You can't participate, right? So this is something that this movement does really well, which is cut you off from having access, right? If I was saying all of the right words, I'd definitely be on the radio and TV and shit right now. Anyway, so probably not, because I swear too much and lose my train of thought. But I'm just saying, like, I'd at least get a shot, right? So, but sourcing. So you need that, right? So you're dependent on the source of corporations and the powerful for your stories. And if you report honestly, like look at what's happening to Caitlin Moran, Helen Razor, a few other people who are actually just speaking truth as best they can, and they don't get fuck all. Okay? And so it's just one of those things. Now, flack is the fourth filter, right? And this one is interesting because it also, it's that fear of flack. So in here it says it may take the form of, okay, let's do it again. Start again. Roll back. The fourth filter is flack, right? Described by Herman and Chomsky as negative responses to a media statement or TV or radio program. It may take the form of letters, telegrams, phone calls, petitions, lawsuits, speeches and bills before Congress, and other modes of complaint, threat and punitive action. So this is something that these people are doing right now, which is manufacturing flack. And so they're making it look like that there's a lot more people who are opposed to this than there actually are. And the problem and this is what the journos are fucking ridiculous. Right? Because they live on Twitter. They think that a Twitter outrage represents most people. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Okay? Most people would have read that letter and agreed with it and not seen anything wrong with it. And yet it's fucking outrageous on there. And the journos are just like, it's absolutely insane. But it is funny, right? So an example is the US-based global start again. Business organizations regularly come together to form flack machines. An example is the US-based Global Climate Coalition. Wikipedia doesn't sort of write things the way that I would write them. This is not clear. The Global Climate Coalition, comprising fossil fuel and automobile companies such as Exxon, Texaco and Ford. The GCC was started up by Burson Marsteller, one of the world's largest public relations companies, to attack the credibility of climate scientists and scare stories about global warming. For Chomsky and Herman, flack refers to negative responses to a media statement or program. The term flack has been used to describe what Chomsky and Herman see as efforts to discredit organizations or individuals who disagree with or cast doubt on the prevailing assumptions which Chomsky and Herman view as favorable to established power. Wokeism. The ability to look like you're doing something without doing anything at all. Okay. Interesting, isn't it? Unlike the first three filtering mechanisms, which are derived from analysis of market mechanisms, flack is characterized by concerted efforts to manage public information. So it's just interesting that Chomsky signed this letter and they tried to cancel Chomsky without any fucking self-awareness whatsoever. It's still funny. I laughed all day that they literally... Not only, this is peak 2020 though, right? Where they would try to cancel Noam Chomsky, the person who wrote the book on cancel culture, for co-signing a letter opposing cancel culture. And he also doesn't give a fuck because he's not on Twitter. He's fucking 90 years old. He don't give a fuck. It's just so funny and it's so stupid. But I'm sorry, but if you think that this woke stuff is not the powerful and they aren't the elite and they are speaking truth to power, they're not. They are a cult and they are working to serve the interests of the tech companies who, for now, seem to have a shared interest. Facebook's a bit different, but Twitter particularly, and Amazon and Google, they want everybody divided. They want everybody online. They want everybody angry. They want everybody questioning their governments, and I've talked about technocrats before. So technocrats don't like government. They don't like democracy, okay? Technocrats appoint themselves as the purveyors of truth, right? Twitter's a weapon. I'm only on there because I need to build an audience, right? Sorry, I didn't have a booger. I scratched my nose and just happened to look at the screen. It looked like I was looking at snot. I wasn't. Anyway. And the fifth one is anti-communism and fear. Now, I'm going to go more broadly with fear here because initially it was anti-communism because the book was written at that time, right? But it's since been changed to the war on terror, which, this sort of evil, this idea of a boogeyman, right? I would actually argue that the new fifth filter, if you want to apply Chomsky's filters, I would argue that increasingly it's probably this alt-right or radicalization boogeyman, right? Bigot. I would argue that whoever the wokes demonize is, we're still forming thoughts, but I think in retrospect, if someone's going to apply Chomsky's propaganda model to 2020, increasingly it's not the war on terror, it's now it's basically fucking witches at the moment. But, I think increasingly we're seeing sort of an alt-right boogeyman, Nazi boogeyman, whatever the fuck that is, right? Fascists, whatever the fuck that means, okay? So that's an interesting upgrade. Anyway, I covered this so badly. I apologise because I've just had bad internet. It's just been a fucking clusterfuck. My coffee's cold and, I'm a bit distracted, and then the internet wasn't working, and then all this stuff. But what's funny is they tried to it's just, the tweets are hilarious. It's just hilarious, right? Oh, that's me. Where are we? I'm trying to find the top ones. Oh, they only show the top ones for today. But oh my God, they were funny. Yeah, this pretty much sums it up. Bridget said, I giggled myself to sleep last night thinking about how the left had gone too far for Noam Chomsky. I mean, what the... It's funny. It's so funny, right? Oh, God. And then they're like, oh, he's a free speech absolutist. Yeah, probably because it's important, you fuckwit. Anyway, yesterday was better. I hate that you can't navigate anything anymore. It really annoys me. Twitter I really should have prepared screenshots. I'm going to start doing static screenshots instead. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. This wasn't very good. But flexing. The thing about it, you got to do it every day. This isn't the main thing. This is just sort of streams. I don't know if there's been dropouts. It'd be interesting to know if there was. But yeah. So, anyway, I really poorly articulated theory there. I apologize for that. I do know my Chomsky. I thought it was just funny because literally wrote the book on this shit. And it's just twisted. And how weird is 2020? How fucking weird is it? I hope that we come out of this better. I do. I really hope that we come out of this better. Maybe we're just going through a period. I just can't wait. I hope that this becomes a time where we're like, remember when we listened to Twitter? Remember when we listened to fucking crazy people? And basically idiocracy fucking started. And then we self-corrected. Remember when that happened, that funny thing where for a couple of years where everyone just sort of lost their minds? Not remember when all of this, when all the gulags started? First, there's two fucking paths with this. It's like you either remember this as a funny thing that happened when the world went a bit batty for a while, right? Or we descend into a fucking cult-led, insane, totalitarian, chaotic, dystopian new nightmare. I'm hoping that it's the former. I just hope that at some point, I said this in my other video, the embarrassing ways to die video, which was like, I really think maybe we gave fucking Nazis and Stalinist Russia and all of these and Napoleon too much credit for intelligence. I really think we gave them too much credit, because the biggest problem here is that ordinary people are indifferent and apathy. Apathy seems to be the biggest problem. And but eventually I think when ordinary people go, what the fuck's going on? And I think that's happening now, where they're going, I don't see what J.K. Rowling said that's so wrong. I don't see it. Like, explain it to me. And people are just going, I don't see it. I don't see what they did wrong. And everyday people start saying that. I think that you start to build a critical mass, especially the one thing that I like is, I'm hoping more people do, is push against this white fragility shit. That's the Dianetics of a fucking cult. It's the same as Dianetics. It's basically another like bullshit religious resource. And it's just like, no, I'm not reading cult materials, right? It reminds me of when my stepdaughter brought home this fucking, oh my God, it's an edited version of the Bible, but it's like they're devotional and like batshit evangelical. And it just basically was like a Bible for kids. This is for kids, right? I think we've still got it. I should bring it out and read through it one day. But it's basically got a fucking cleaver on the front, and it's all like death and destruction and you're hell and you're a terrible person and all this sort of stuff, and like scaring the shit out of these kids, right? And it's basically like, well, that's what white fragility is like that, right? It's one woman basically writing a fucking confession about her own racism that nobody, it's batshit. I've read it. Like, it's absolutely batshit. Like, she sits there and just extrapolates her own demons and assumes that everyone has them. Like, I don't even think like that. Like, it's just insane. And it's insane that people think that this is an authoritative, like, it speaks for white people in any way, shape or form. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who do think that way. And there's also a lot of, let's just say, wealthier brown people who like to use white fragility as a weapon and somehow make it so that they get to put a working class white woman as and call her Karen and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it's fucking whatever. It's bullshit. There's only one kind of privilege, and that's economic privilege. Okay, they do intersect. And certain demographics do tend to be poorer. And yes, racism is a problem, but it's not the only problem. Okay? So, oh, goodness me. This is retarded. Wokeness is a nothing movement based on corporate branding, and it's basically the best way to look like you're doing something by doing nothing at all. Okay? Except cement the power of men. All right? Patriarchy and capitalism are very crafty and very, very powerful forces. Okay, and I wouldn't say let's put white supremacy in there just to throw a bone, but I don't think that that's necessarily, that's a bit more complicated than that. So, but yeah. Anyway, fuck. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Everything's fucked. It's funny though. At least we'll go laughing. At least we'll be laughing when it happens, when we're killed. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm tired. Any comments? Thank you for commenting, but I'm going to go. I realized I reached the hour point, so I'm going to go, and I've got work to do. Usual shit. I'm sorry this was so unstructured and shit today. Everyone has, you have your off days. So, but thanks for watching. Hopefully my internet's better tomorrow or in the next hour because I've got shit to do. But I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. And, links down below. Follow me. Fucking all that stuff. Although why anybody would follow me after this, I have no idea. This is a train wreck today. It's a train wreck. Anyway, live streaming is fucking hard, especially every day. And so cut me some slack. It's fucking hard, okay? It's hard to come up with content. Be prepared. It's hard to like do the research. And then don't forget, I've got lights, camera, I have comments, I have like two screens going. I'm worried about the sound. And then my internet goes off and then the kid distracts me. And it's like I have ADD, it's like input fucking overdrive. And it's like, it's actually harder than it looks. Like it really is harder than it looks. It's not just a matter of turning, especially if you've got camera fright like I do. I forget. It's like I sit there and I know my Chomsky in and out. I know where I'm planning to go. And then all of a sudden, it all just leaves my head. And you get to see the calamity that is Taya. I'm a better writer than I am a streamer, but I've also got writer's block. So that's awesome too. I'll try to do more writing. It's mostly because I can't actually sit for more than an hour at a time at the moment because it fucking hurts. So chronic pain and all that stuff. Anyway, I will get there one day, one day, one day. One day this will be my job and my business. So I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. And please just laugh as much as you can. I know shit's going down, but just try to see the funny side. Also, one thing to do every day for your mental health is to go, if I read this headline after waking up from a coma, right? It becomes funnier. And just learn to laugh at the movement. Yes, they're angry. Yes, they're dangerous. But if you have any understanding of how history goes, we've got two options. We're either heading into fucking like disaster, okay, and we're all going to die, in which case I'm just going to spend my remaining years laughing my fucking ass off and enjoying what I've got. Or this is a silly, hilarious attempted coup and it'll go away soon. And that's funny too. So just learn to laugh at it and have some fun. Stay in touch and I love you. Bye.